586, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon led his armies to Jerusalem and conquered it. The temple of the Lord was destroyed. The Babylonian army laid waste to the city of Jerusalem, and the inhabitants of Judah were captured and were taken away to Babylon. The people of God were devastated to lose the Holy Land that God had given them. But even in exile, the people of Judah tried to keep their connection to God. After Judah got settled in Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar decided it would be wise to select some of Judah's finest men and educate them, so one day they might advise and serve the king. Among those chosen, there were 3 men: Hananiah.
They call me Shadrach.
Mishael.
I prefer Meshach, if you don't mind.
And Azariah.
I think Azariah is a perfectly nice name. But no, they had to give me a name nobody could say. Abednego, Abednego. Here we go.
You can't even say his own name.
Abednego, the smart one. Abednego.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were chosen out of the Israelite royal family and nobility because they were well versed in every branch of wisdom.
Talking comes by nature. Wisdom. Silence comes by wisdom.
Very wise.
They were endowed with knowledge and insight.
I got it. Knowledge is like the sun. It dispels the darkness.
So true.
And they were competent to serve in the king's palace.
Confident? We're nearly confident?
We're 3 handsome men.
And smart too.
I'm sorry, that's what the Bible says in Daniel 1.
Is that all it says?
Oh, excuse me, here we go.
That's Abednego.
The men chosen were young men without physical defect. And they were very handsome.
That's right. Even the Bible knows how buff we are.
Looking good, Meshach.
Oh, thank you, my man.
Well, thank you.
You're quite a visible specimen yourself.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Those push-ups are really paying off.
Yes. Anyway, these handsome young men without physical defect were brought to the king's palace and were taught the literature and language of the Chaldeans.
It's called Aramaic, by the way.
Thank you. So while the chosen men were being educated, the king gave them a daily ration of food and wine that was served to the royalty.
Oh, we need a king's feast to keep our bodies hungry too.
That's not what Daniel said.
What?
Your friend Daniel, he was with the 3 of you in the palace, wasn't he?
Well, of course. Daniel was very popular with the king.
And didn't Daniel tell your supervisor that he didn't want the royal diet? Daniel wanted to remain pure according to the law. He wanted to keep a kosher diet, right?
Yeah, Daniel wasn't popular with us when he suggested that.
But how can we object? We're good Jews. We need to keep kosher, too.
But watch others eating shrimp and lobster and pork tenderloin. Pork tenderloin? I'm reformed.
While we stared at our big bowls of vegetables, they couldn't find a chicken or some lamb for us to eat.
And the water instead of wine. Ugh. We were already exiled. And Daniel had to make it feel like prison.
Well, I like vegetables, and water helps us to keep clear-headed.
When Daniel talked to the palace supervisor about a diet of vegetables, The supervisor said he feared that such a diet would leave these men in poorer condition than all the others, and the king would have his head.
Well, the king doesn't like his men apparently to be.
But Daniel persuaded a guard to let them try their own diet for 10 days, and then decide if they looked to be in worse condition than the others. So the 4 men were given vegetables and water for 10 days.
Come on, guys. Carrots are pretty good.
There's some here on track.
Oh, all right then. Carrots are pretty good. And radishes, leeks, beans, and cabbage.
You're right. I like the vegetables. Once my fall was fine, I got used to all the fiber.
Oh, don't remind me.
And you know, I've been trying to cut down.
Yeah, I know that, but don't remind me. It did feel good knowing that we were living according to God's dietary laws, even here in Babylon.
So the guard allowed the men to test their diet for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, they appeared before the guard. And it was seen that they appeared better and fatter than all the young men who had been eating their boiled rations.
See? The diet paid off. We're better and fatter than the others.
Is that really what it says?
Yeah, better and fatter
Better than that?
in the Bible.
Daniel.
How did we get fatter than the others eating only vegetables?
I don't know. Maybe God helped.
Oh, that's what Daniel would say.
Good. I guess that's, excuse me, I shouldn't talk around now. I guess that's good. You know, if we got more fat, we can make more muscle.
Also, hey, that's true.
So the guard continued to withdraw their royal rations and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. And God gave these 4 young men knowledge and skill in every aspect of literature and wisdom. After 3 years, King Nebuchadnezzar asked to see all the chosen men. And after speaking with them, the king found no men as gifted as Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
That's veggie power, baby. That had a little to do with it, too.
So the king brought them into his court. Whenever the king asked their help with understanding or with sharing their wisdom, he found them to be, that can't be right. The king found them to be 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom.
Of course we're 10 times better than all the others. We could have expected otherwise.
We're God's chosen people, aren't we?
God does amazing things through us.
Just look at it.
Well, maybe you should go on to the next story.
Okay. A while later, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to oversee the province of Babylon.
And that was a huge promotion.
And well deserved, I might add.
Of course, us.
After that, King Nebuchadnezzar commissioned a giant statue, 90 feet tall, built of gold, and he set it up in the plain of Dura in Babylon. Then he called together all his leaders, the satraps, prefects, governors, counselors, treasurers, magistrates, and officials of the provinces.
Just what we needed, another convention.
I hate pointless meetings.
I thought maybe it was about feeding the hungry or bringing justice to the oppressed. But no, it was a meeting about a statue?
So when all were gathered, the herald announced, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of a horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, an entire musical ensemble, you are to fall down and worship the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever doesn't do this..."
China?
What's a trigon? I have no idea. Not a clue.
How are we supposed to know when to worship if we don't know what a trigon sounds like?
Good question. But guys, that's not the real question
Well,
here.
obviously.
We're Jews. We worship the one true God. We don't fall down and worship golden statues. We only worship God.
So, what are we going to do?
Well, that's easy. We won't worship the statue.
But there's a problem, gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
As I was saying, the herald said, "Whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire.
Ooh, that is a problem.
Wait. Maybe the king would make an exception for us. He knows we're good Jews. Maybe he'll just get a strongly worded reprimand.
You really think so?
No, not really. If we don't do as he says, he'll see us as traitors, and we're going to be fried.
I don't want to be fried.
Me either. What are we going to do? Are we willing to bow down and worship this statue?
Of course not. If we have to choose worshiping that statue or dying, I choose death.
If that's what has to happen, I'm also ready.
And me too. After eating all those vegetables for God, I'm not disobeying them now.
Maybe when everybody falls to the ground, they won't even notice that we didn't. What do you think?
Yes, we can always hope that, Wait. I think I hear something.
Basically, dancing, not
Everyone's worshiping the statue. But us.
Well, it's all right. God is with us.
After that, certain Chaldeans went to the king and announced that some of the Jews did not bow down to the statue.
Tempting.
Yeah.
The king was furious and commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego come to see him at once. When they arrived, the king told them that they had one more chance. He told them when the music began, they must bow down and worship the statue.
But we told them we couldn't.
People have worshipped golden statues in the past, and let's just say it didn't go very well. You know what I'm saying?
We've learned it's better to trust God than to do what's easy.
But the king said, "You will bow down and worship the statue, or I will throw you in a furnace of blazing fire. And who's the God that will save you then?"
Either our God will save us, or we burn. But we will not fall down and worship the statue.
No. Just as we said that. Where was he?
Immediately, in a great rage, the king had his furnace fueled 7 times more than usual. He had men tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they threw the men into the fiery furnace.
And Abednego screamed like a little girl.
I was praying.
The flames were so hot that the men who threw us into the furnace were killed by the flames.
But not us.
Nope. God protected us. It actually wasn't too bad in there. The flames were pretty fierce, of course.
That made me hungry for a barbecue, actually.
Really? The whole time I was there, I just kept thinking, I wish I'd brought some marshmallows to roast.
S'mores! S'mores! Yeah! Oh, the melted chocolate. Ah. The gooey marshmallow. Tasted that. Then suddenly, our hands and our feet were untied.
And we saw somebody else in there.
Looked kind of like a ghost.
You know it was God, right?
Or an angel, maybe. Anyway, the king saw him too, because he got us out of there in a jiffy.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar then approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And all the king's officials saw that the fire had no power over these men. The hair of their heads was not singed, their clothes were not, and not even the smell of fire came from them.
What a miracle.
It really was. God came through for us to save us.
Yeah, I knew he would. What I couldn't believe is how the king reacted.
The king said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. They disobeyed my command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. No other God is able to deliver people in this way, and nobody shall ever blaspheme this God again."
Yes, our God is much more worthy of worship than any statue.
If God can rescue us from a fiery furnace unharmed,
And Bob.
then God can do anything.
I'm glad the king realized that finally. It's been hard to worship our God in exile, but maybe now that the king knows how great our God is, things will be easier for us.
But no matter what, we know that God is with us, even in Babylon. What in Babylon? Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Even in Babylon. God saved us, won over the king, and continues to provide for us.
Hey, speaking of providing, I think God is about to provide us with a great dinner. Anybody with me?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'm in.
Okay.
As long as the food we eat we can eat raw. I'm not quite ready to kindle a fire yet.
Me either. Veggie platter, here we come.